Hi, I'm Kabir Khan, and I'm here at Ficci Frames 2016. People think that it's suddenly going to completely change the way films are being made. That's not so true. I think what's going to happen is when it comes to mainstream, and I'm talking only about mainstream filmmaking, what's going to happen is that digital technology is definitely going to make life easier for us in terms of logistics of shooting and of course of distribution and exhibition. That definitely is taking place. I can already see from my first 3 films that were shot on celluloid to the 2 films that I've shot on digital, the ease of use, the fact that you have your footage available to you to back up, that protecting the negative used to be such a ordeal in itself. Everything was big, large and cumbersome. Today it's all smaller. So with smaller cameras also comes a certain irreverence with the way which you treat camera. So I think shot taking changes, a little change in the grammar, but that's about it when it comes to mainstream cinema. Yes, I think the larger revolution is happening in smaller films, short films. There's a certain access to technology. Earlier there used to be a hurdle, access to technology. Today it's not there. It's an enabler, right? You have a phone, you can make a film and put it out on the YouTube and put it on the internet, and there's going to be an audience for you. So at that level, I think there's truly a revolution happening. When it comes to big mainstream cinema, I think it's definitely making the technology easy, but it's not going to radically change the way we're making films. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about storytelling. Whether it's being shot on celluloid or whether it's being shot on a digital chip, it's about storytelling.
It does help the distribution of independent films in some ways.
Hugely,
would you agree
hugely. I think digital revolution has definitely enabled independent cinema more access, cheaper budgets. As I said, the whole hurdle to technology has been removed. So in that sense, there's a process of democratization where people can access it, make it. If you have a story, you have a platform to tell that story. But probably in bigger budget films, that portion of depending on technology is something that you don't really have to.
So would you say that it's a good time to be a filmmaker?
Of course, it is a good time. It is a great time to be a filmmaker, but it's a great time to be a filmmaker not only because of changes in technology. That, of course, technology at the end of the day for a filmmaker is a tool. It was never a problem to tell a certain story even earlier. Even 50 years ago, people were telling the stories they wanted to. Today, it becomes slightly easier, of course, with technology, especially with the whole digital technology available. But it's also an exciting time to be a filmmaker because I think specifically, if you speak of the Indian market, there are new ideas being accepted. There is new sort of ways of storytelling are being accepted at the box office. They're doing commercially well. There's no longer any distinction now between alternative cinema and mainstream cinema. Films with unique stories and unique ways of telling the story are doing well at the box office and being accepted. So that's why I think it's a good time to be a filmmaker.
Do you think that the movie going experience will change?
Movie going experience will change in the sense I think the way people are watching movies is definitely changing. I mean, today people are watching movies on phones. Honestly, I was one of the people who was very cynical about it and said, how can anybody watch a movie on phone? But the point is, they are, and we have to recognize that. So definitely, I think in terms of the dependence on the box office, in terms of going to a theatre, is going to start going down because there's so many other avenues that are coming up where people can distribute and watch films, and we have to be aware of that. We have to sort of in a way educate ourselves and keep up with the changes.
Describe your experience at Ficci Frames.
Ficci Frames is a place that I've actually come to several times. I used to come here even when I was like a freelance television person. We used to make certain news stories about Ficci Frames. I used to come here even when I wrote my story and I was struggling to get it made. I remember I used to carry a copy of my script in my bag. If I met some producer, if I could just bring it. Never happened, but would always come with the hope that I meet somebody, a producer, a potential producer here. So I've had a long association with Ficci Frames. Yash Chopra, who was, because I have been closely associated with the Yash Raj Films, is somebody who used to be, in a way, the patron of Ficci Frames. So we used to always, every year, come in for a certain session, and that tradition continues. I think I've, for the past 5 or 6 years, always come on a certain session and spoken at this platform.
Any comments on the the pitch platform that you?
That's a great platform, and this is something that I was telling the people who had organized it earlier also, that is a great lacuna. That's a great sort of a space that's missing in our industry where somebody who has no connections, who does not know, just the way I landed up in Bombay with not knowing a soul in the Bombay industry, to be able to access producers and directors directly and be able to pitch a story to them or their representatives, knowing that this will be given to them, is a very good attempt. And yes, there needs to be some streamlining there, because I hate to say that there needs to be a filter in place, because at the end of the day, who are we to sit on judgment on other people's stories and say you are good enough or not? But at the same time, I guess when the numbers increase, then it becomes a little problematic to handle the numbers. So there needs to be some streamlining so that the numbers are in control, and the people hearing the stories, get it's because if you have to process 25 stories in a day, you can't do that. So I think there's a certain limit that has to be set over there.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.